Hello, everyone out there. Hello. I forget now that we're doing this stuff on YouTube, I have to say hello to the YouTubers. What's up, YouTubers? Thank you for stopping by. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a stream today about how to build your brand on Twitter. Okay, that's kind of weird. We'll talk a little bit more about that as soon as we tweet that we're going live. So, let's get some social media out there, let people know we're live, and then once we do that, we'll fire off. So just copy and paste here. One of the big tools to Twitter. Copy and paste. All right, so we're live. Let me make sure I get my stream going here. Now, what I usually like to do with the streams is I like to warm up a bit, say hello to everybody who's coming in, and then dive into the topic. So beforehand, we've already asked people to ask us a couple of questions, so we'll have something to talk about. Because usually what will happen is I'll have a little bit to cover, like with the Twitter stuff, I have a couple of things to talk about, things that will help you build a brand, and then once we get to that point where we kind of run out of content, I want to be able to address some things that people have asked, which I'm going to do today. There's two questions in particular that we're going to cover, and let's see if we can find what those questions are. I should have done that ahead of time. I should have put that ahead of time. That would have been pro of me, but I did not. So let's scroll through this stuff, find the question here. Okay, one question is from Jake from MTG Tonight. Is it better to diverge your official Twitter account with your personal Twitter account? So Jake has a YouTube channel, and what he's trying to do is he's asking, should he have like a personal account, like a Jake account and an @ my YouTube account, or should he put them both together and just tweet about his YouTube and tweet about his himself? So that's the first question. The second question came from my friend on Facebook, and we'll take a look at what he had to ask. Basically, his question was, is it better to have quality content or to have just lots of content? Okay, so should he just be putting a bunch of content out, even if it's not that great, if it's just like whatever, or should he be focusing on putting really quality content out? So those are the two questions we're going to tackle. But before we do that, let's just talk about this question. I put, how to build your brand on Twitter. Really, what I want to talk about is just how to use Twitter. Hey, Norbert, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Really what I want to talk about is how to use Twitter. The how to build your brand on Twitter feels very like marketing. It feels very like I don't know, like I don't even know what the word is for it, but it doesn't feel genuine. Let's just put it that way. It feels like spammy a little bit, or clickbaity, and I wasn't sure how to like encapsulate this whole topic into like one tweet, right? How do I say we want to talk about Twitter and what are the best ways to use Twitter, and how can you build a following on Twitter without saying like brand or something like that? I don't know. So I didn't give a lot of thought because I figured, hey, this is what we're going to talk about for stream today: how to build your brand on Twitter. And so what I mean by that is, how do you? Okay, I assume that if you're listening and you want to build a brand on Twitter, or if you want to expand your audience, that you probably want to do it for a reason, right? You're probably a content creator or a business owner or somebody who wants to reach more people with the platform Twitter. One of the first things I would say is that what I mean by building your brand is connecting the people that you already communicate with to yourself via Twitter. So there's people that and that you talk to that probably have a Twitter, but maybe are not following you on Twitter. And so when I say build a brand, part of that is getting those people connected with you, just a connection, allowing them to follow you on Twitter, or letting them know that you have a Twitter so that they can follow you. The other way that I mean building a brand is deciding on being intentional about how you're going to use Twitter. All right, so Norbert says I may have a question. Great, let's keep it coming because we're gonna hit it as fast as we can, and then when we run out, we're gonna need more questions. So, as I was saying, like you want to be intentional about using Twitter and how that plays into whatever your project is. Okay, so if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a business, now you have to take everything. By the way, I want to give a disclaimer before we jump too deep in. You have to take everything I say with a grain of salt because I'm essentially nobody. Okay, I've built many Twitter accounts organically from the ground up. Okay, so I've done that, and I've had, I would say, moderate success with that. I don't have Twitter accounts that have 10,000 followers, stuff like that. One Twitter account that I had up to almost 7,000, and that was in the Magic the Gathering space, and that was before I quit the game. So I quit the game, deleted the Twitter, and then I've now returned to the game and have started to communicate on Twitter again. So my Twitter account is growing there. But all of that to say, what I'm saying is all philosophy from my experience with building Twitter accounts organically. Now, like anything in life, there's a fast way to do something and a slower way to do it, an easy way and a hard way, so to speak. And there is some easy techniques that you can use to build your Twitter following. You can even buy Twitter followers if you wanted to do. That kind of stuff I'm not going to talk about today because I don't feel like that's the kind of stuff that's going to build an audience on Twitter that is going to be engaging with your content or engaging with your business. I don't feel like that's not going to get you far. I mean, it'll make you look good because you'll have so many followers, but those followers are not going to respond to your stuff. They're not going to have meaningful input. So it's just like the other day there was a Magic streamer who was botting on Twitch. I guess what that means is that I'm on Twitch right now, we're streaming, so like I guess that I could hire a service to like hit my Twitch with views, so people would start like but they're really robots are looking at my Twitch, and my Twitch numbers look crazy. It looks like, whoa, this guy's got all kinds of people over there. So the thing about that though is like people were making comments about that. Hey, your chat's not very active. Well, that's the thing. You're streaming to a bunch of bots, which essentially it's only a visual thing. And the same thing goes for Twitter. You're tweeting to a bunch of bots, which is only a visual thing. It's not something that's, I'm going to move this over here. This is kind of my list to kind of keep the thing going here. So I have 3 tips. I have 3 tips for using Twitter as a platform and how to build your brand there. And then we're going to go into these questions, and then any other questions from the chat, we'll tackle that stuff. So the first tip is to distill your audience. Okay. So one of the reasons why I made a Twitter account and one of the reasons I started interacting on it is because I had a lot of projects going on in the Magic the Gathering space. So I was writing for websites, I was on podcast, and I was doing other stuff, even, guesting on podcasts, hosting on podcasts, writing, any kind of content that you can create. I was being interviewed and this kind of stuff. So I wanted a way to, okay, I'm going to all these different spots, maybe places where I'm a guest or something, and I wanted a way for people to connect with me, even if I wasn't a host on that show, or even if I was just writing for that one article for that site. So what I mean by distill your audience is I wanted to point everyone back to one place. Okay, everybody come to this place. If you want to learn more about, like, if you liked what you read, if you liked what you heard on the podcast, and you want to stay connected to me, here's how to do it. I'll just connect to my Twitter or follow me on Twitter. And so I found that to be really effective because what happened was those people would follow me around to whatever I did. And that meant one of the gigs that I was doing with the Magic the Gathering stuff is I was writing for a big website called Star City Games, and I had a pretty good spot on there. And so a lot of people read my articles because Star City Games is well trafficked. And so what happened was I left Star City Games. I was actually boot it from Star City Games. I don't want to, no hard feelings or no bad things. I'm just making it clear what happened. I'm not trying to sugarcoat. They released me, okay, and it wasn't anything dramatic, but they released me, and the good thing about that is when I got released, I still had all of these Twitter followers who knew where I was going next because I was able to communicate with them. Now, if I did not distill my following, if I did not put them in one place that I had control over, then they would not know where I went, right? So I would be released from Star City Games, and then where'd that guy go? He's not here next week. He's not writing anymore. What happened? I don't know. Or they're gonna have to go to Google and search for me and like try to find my stuff. And is it the newest stuff? And who knows, right? But with Twitter, you can move that. You can move the audience over there. And when I say distill, what I mean is like let them know. In the end of your articles, hey, if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure to follow me. I talk a lot more about the metagame here, or I do these kind of things. And if you have a business, make sure your Twitter is on your business cards. It's on any interaction that you have with a person. Always give them the opportunity to follow you on Twitter so that it all branches back here. It can be an easy place for them to find you. So that would be tip 1 for building your brand. Don't forget, put your Twitter stuff everywhere and remind people. Now, don't spam people like follow me. That we'll talk about that later, but every organic and natural opportunity that you have to share that you're on Twitter and that you would like people to follow you, you should do that. Okay, so distill your audience, bring them all to one spot. Okay. Norbert says, I feel like back then everyone followed everyone, but these days most people don't follow you automatically. Yeah, I think when we're talking about the Magic the Gathering space, and I'm trying to make this kind of open to, because a lot of these philosophies and thoughts apply to doing Twitter in any space. I've done it in Magic the Gathering, I've done it in the board game space, and in other spaces too, Christianity and stuff like that, religion or whatever, what have you. So in the Magic space, there was this time where the Magic community on Twitter was very small. So everyone wanted to be part of the conversation. Everyone would follow everyone. Nowadays, it is more of a branding kind of. It looks more like a normal. The more people who join Twitter, and the more Magic players who are on Twitter, the more it will take form like a normal space on Twitter, right? It's a niche, but it's a big niche, right? We need to bring back Follow Fridays. I try to do a Follow Friday every Friday, but I like to do my Follow Fridays. I like to talk about the person that I'm saying to follow. I don't like just doing like Follow Friday and then a list of people, right? Because I don't feel that like entices anybody to follow somebody else. So like if I want somebody to follow, let's say I want somebody to follow Jake, who I was talking about, right? If I just put, hey, Follow Friday, Jake, random other person, this girl, and this person, right? Like nobody's really interested in that. They see that list of names and whatever. But if I say, hey, follow Jake because I watched his video the other day, it was amazing. He's a great creator and somebody I really look forward to getting content from. If I say something like that, then somebody following me might read that and say, oh, yeah, that person, I do want to follow that person, So I do my Follow Fridays like that. I haven't done them every Friday because of that, because I try to like have a real genuine reason for people to follow someone. And if I don't have that, I'm just not going to do a Follow Friday or I've already done Follow Fridays for certain people that I really appreciate. And I kind of don't want to do it again and again, because we don't want to do that. So yeah, that's tip 1. Distill your audience. Tip 2 would be what I'm talking about by being genuine, okay? This Follow Friday is a good segue into talking about being a genuine person. I feel that there's 2 ways, and we'll get into this when we answer one of the questions, but there are 2 ways to be, okay? I feel like you could be genuine, or you can be like just based on like impressions and retweets and likes and stuff like that. Because there's certain things you can do that will get you retweets and get you likes and get you impressions, right? Impressions is if somebody viewed one of your tweets, you know. There's certain trendy topics, there's certain tweets that are getting a lot of activity, and you can jump right in there and engage with those, engage with every one of those tweets, okay? And then your account will get kind of passed around a bit, and maybe through doing that you might grab a couple followers in there. But the thing about that is if you engage with every one of those, it can't really be a genuine approach, right? Because do you really have strong feelings about all of that stuff? Probably not. You're probably just doing it for hits or for, you know, impressions. And I feel like in the end, what does that result in? Like, you have to come back to, why are you on Twitter? Like, what are you trying to do? Do you have a project that you're passionate about? You have a business you're building? Like, how is just getting impressions going to help your business? You know, people will say, well, then you'll have more followers. But do those followers care about your business? Do they care about your project? Because in the end, if you can't connect people who care about your project with the project, then in the end you fail. You don't really win, right? So like in the end, that's what you're trying to do. And so I feel that being genuine is the best way to do that. What that means is that you'll lose some followers. People will come, they'll check you out. They're not going to like something, or they just, it's not for them. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It just says, you know, I care not to follow that person. And so they don't want it in that certain Twitter feed. There's a lot of reasons why someone will unfollow. You should never take it personal if someone unfollows you or if someone doesn't follow you. It's just all about information, right? They want certain information from their Twitter, and, you know, you're not giving it. And that's how I view it too. I want certain information in my Twitter feed. I don't typically follow a lot of people because I get the information I need from the small amount of people that I follow. And so I feel like being genuine is the best way to build what's called a tribe, okay? It's kind of like this idea of tribalism is, there's a small group of people who will be loyal to you and who will constantly promote your content or your business, and they will team up with you. They will want to see you succeed. And it's easier to find those people when you're genuine about who you are and what you're about. And I think the quicker you can find that tribe and the quicker you can gather those people, the more powerful your presence on Twitter is going to be for your project, for your business, or whatever you're doing. So step number 2, or tip 2, not step because they're not like in any order, but tip 2 would be genuine. And then number 3 would be to promote others. One great way, so I talked about the view from building the tribe, right? That's you as a project creator, a business owner, or whatever, connecting with the people who want to support you and be part of your tribe, okay? So that's you connecting with people. Now there's another side of Twitter, which is you networking with like-minded businesses or projects, right? So if you're a YouTube creator, you doing collaborations, or a streamer or whatever, doing collaborations with people who are like you and whose audience is like yours is a good thing, because you get like kind of cross-pollination, right? You get some of their audience comes to you because you guys are like, you're the same in essence, and then some of your audience goes to them. So it's beneficial. You're connecting people with content that they're going to like by doing that. And so one of the ways to do that, cross-mogination. That's right. So one of the ways to do that is to find those people and share their content, because then you're sharing something that you like. And if you're being genuine, you've built a tribe of people who like you and like your stuff, then something you like is probably something they're going to like. Okay. And so this is what starts to build that network of people, right? Because some people are saying, well, then, okay, we're doing all this stuff, but how do I get followers? Because, you know, you're talking about all this kind of touchy-feely stuff, be genuine, promote others, how am I going to get followers? Well, this is naturally and organically going to get you followers, because what's going to happen is you're going to build this tribe of people who support and like you. You're going to share content from others, which you think that they're going to like, okay? And they're going to share that content with their tribe. Well, since their tribe likes them and they like you, a lot of times these people are going to say, hey, this person constantly has something cool to say. I'm going to actually just follow this person too. And so there's going to be this spreading, and that's how you do it organically. Now, it's not going to be something fast, right? It's going to be something that as you continually, consistently share good content, you're sharing yourself genuinely on Twitter, people will start to follow, because people will start to say, hey, I kind of like that. And so that will get you followers. So distill your audience, promote others, and be a service to others is what I had there. So like not only promoting people's content or people's business, but also like somebody asked a question. There was the other day, someone was talking about shipping something internationally, and I went in there and gave some information about that. Hey, just so you know, a global forever stamp is $1.15. You can do anything you ship internationally. If you do it in a letter form that's under an ounce, it's $1.15. If you want to do more, then use this PayPal link, and it'll help you to get the customs form and everything in one shot. So I sent them that information because I said, hey, I want to help this person, and not necessarily because, hey, I want to help this person and maybe they'll follow me, but I want to be kind of known as somebody who's helping people. That's me being genuine. That's me being a service. And I think in doing that, naturally, some people will follow you. If you do stuff like that for the follow, then you'll be disappointed a lot, because most of the time they probably won't follow you back. But just doing it because that's who you are, that's a good thing. You should do that. You should try your best to share your knowledge and information. And that's kind of what we're doing here on the stream. It's like, we're just sharing this knowledge and information, trying to, help you. You want to maybe build your brand on Twitter? I'm trying to help you do that. So are there any questions with that stuff before we move on to the other questions? Is there any questions from the chat? I'm going to check out the chat and then take a drink of water. And if not, we'll jump into the first question and we'll go from there. So Norbert says, I feel like people are mostly following for content. So it's hard since I don't write articles, do podcasts, etc. This is where the last tip that I shared is most important for people who don't have a project, okay? So this is like Norbert saying, hey, how can I get more followers? Because I don't have a project. How will followers find me, right? Well, I think that for you, what you should do if you want more followers, I think you should do some soul searching about why you want more followers, or what is your purpose on Twitter? What are you trying to do? When you have a project, you want more followers for exposure. You want the project to be successful, and you want also Twitter for communication, so you can communicate to the people who are interested in your project things about the project. So that's what you have to think about there. When you're yourself, when your brand is you have to ask yourself, why do I want more people following me? What am I going to give these people? And what is the end game? What's the point? And so for me, you'll see that I have my own brand. Okay, so it's kind of called a brand. I don't look at it like that in the day-to-day. When I wake up, I don't say, what am I going to do for my brand today? I'm not doing that, but you have to call it what it is. I have a brand on Twitter. I'm growing an audience. Why am I doing that? Well, because I have a lot of projects that I'm working on in the magic space. I'm writing, I'm streaming, I'm doing all of these things. And so I want people to know about what I'm doing, and that's why I'm building that brand. I also want to be able to help people. So I'm trying to help as many people as I can by giving information and being a curator of content. And I think this is one of the most important things, and we'll get to this in one of the questions. I'll leave it for the question, but let me tell you that you should do some soul searching, figure out why you want more followers and this kind of thing. But I think that you have to look at Twitter like it's its own platform. It in itself has its own content. Okay, so a tweet is content. Okay, so like right here, James Chilcott, what hot specs are you targeting for TCG player 15% deals today? Okay, so this is content. Okay, this is Twitter content is what this is. It's a tweet, but it's Twitter content. What it's going to do is it's going to promote engagement. Okay, so someone's going to engage with this. They're going to comment on it. And this is going to spread, okay, because of their engagement and other people's engagement. And what it's going to do is create this kind of this not outsourced, what do you call that? It's like group sourced. Man. Anyways, it's going to create this answer to the question that's gathered from all these different minds on Twitter, and that itself is content. So if you look at your own tweets like content, then you could be a content creator on Twitter, and you can share other people's content, their tweets. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a link to an article, or it doesn't have to be a podcast or anything like that. It could be information in the form of a tweet. How much information can you jam into a tweet? It could be something clever or funny in a tweet. It could be a question that drives engagement. It could be all these different things. So think about yourself as a content creator being on Twitter if you want to grow your followers. But I think the first question is, in order to be genuine, I think you have to answer the first question: why do I want more followers? Here's a great kind of example. Now, this is Gabby's stream, okay? But this has content in it. Look, you have a deck list. The deck list is in the tweet. And so that's content, okay? So people reading this don't even have to go to the stream to get something out of this tweet. They just see and they say, oh, look, it's a deck list. There's stuff in there. Okay, so I'm going to move on to a question. If you have questions, just leave them in the chat and we'll address them after the questions. So question from Jake. I'll read it one more time here if I can find it. Is it better to diverge your official channel account with your personal account? Now, hopefully, I'm looking at Facebook here. Okay, I'm just making sure that... Okay, here we go. So, is it better to diverge your official channel account with your personal account? This is assuming your personal account is worthy of brand representation with nothing inappropriate or divisive. Okay, now, the answer to this question is it depends. Everything in Twitter is it depends, right? So, since I have a lot of projects going on, I like to be in one magic Twitter, right? I don't have like a magic writing Twitter, a magic podcast Twitter, a magic YouTube Twitter. I don't have that. I have my Twitter and I share all my magic stuff on it. But I have diverged my different segments into other Twitter accounts, right? So like everything, I was doing board game design for a while. Everything to do with my board game design and my network there is on a different Twitter account than my Magic account. And my streaming, since I stream lots of different things, I stream Pokemon, I stream Hearthstone, I stream Magic, I stream just everyday life stuff like this right here. That is on another Twitter account. And the reason why I did that is because it goes back to the idea of tribes, right? Each person, I want them to be able to select which part of my journey they want to follow. So if they want to follow my Magic content, they can do it in my Magic Twitter. If they want to follow my streaming with other games and stuff, they can do it on the streaming one. If they want to follow me designing a game, they can do it on the other one. If they want to hear my thoughts about spirituality and whatnot, they could do it on another one. So I have multiple Twitter accounts for that reason. It gives people, if they want it all, they could just follow all those accounts, and then they can see everything I have to say. But I think for Jake specifically, he has that YouTube channel, and what I would say is keep them separate, because what you can do on your personal account is just, man, I woke up this morning and my car won't start. Okay, that allows the people who are interested in your YouTube video not to be kind of spammed out by your everyday life. Not saying your everyday life is boring or whatever, but it just gives them the option. And if they want to read about your car being stalled, then they can follow you on the personal Twitter. Now, I think the question becomes, where do you put the focus, right? because it feels like to me with your channel just starting and you trying to gain some traction, I myself would be putting a lot of focus on the actual channel of the videos of the YouTube account. And so what I would be doing is making sure that every video goes out, every video that you do goes out on your video Twitter. The other thing you can do on the video account is respond to your own content. That feels weird, but it's something that's very helpful because it brings back the content to the attention of the people who are watching. So like you might notice when I did this, when I started doing the tweets for this, we'll go here. When I started doing the tweets for this this stream, you'll see this like, hey, today's stream is this. Then I responded to my tweet with this tweet, okay? And this was later. So what happens is, you know, people get to see it the first time I say it, and then if other people didn't get to see that, when I respond to my own content, then they see, oh yeah, look at it, he's actually going to do a stream, this is the thing, and then you'll see, you know, there's more. So if you just keep reading, you know, it'll keep going and keep going. And so I would say in the video account, you should be doing that. You should be sharing your own content and then responding to it so that it brings it to mind for the next batch of people who are looking at their Twitter. Because remember, people look at their Twitter throughout the day. Not everyone is on Twitter at the same time, right? Not all of your followers are on right when you say something. So they might have to see it later and you might be buried in other stuff. So to bring it back to mind is a good thing to share the content. And also you want, like, if you have something to say about the content, you don't want to say it disconnected from the actual content. So I would say yes. My answer is it always depends, right? You should look at your own situation personally and make a decision about whether you want to give people the choice to follow strictly your project and you, or if you have enough projects where, you know, you want people to engage with you on all the projects. But if the projects are different enough, then you maybe want to separate the two. And I would say for you, probably you want to separate the two. Let me see. I'm going to take a look at your Twitter account. I hope you don't mind. I know it's public information, so, you know. Thank you for the he tweets out. Thank you, Jake. Let's take a look at your Twitter account here and see what's going on here. So like when you retweeted me here, this would have been great to retweet on your own account. It's somebody else talking about your content, so you're not necessarily talking about it. And if you do a retweet, not a quote, then it just looks like someone else saying it. So doing it on your video account would have been a good idea. This right here looks like, okay, this is you talking about your music, which is great. That's right here. These are personal tweets. And so like if somebody was like, hey, I don't really care about Blood Orange, but I really like your show, then you can, the great benefit of this is you can junk out about Blood Orange on your personal account and who cares, right? Because you know that the people following you are your tribe. They're like you, they like what you like. Now, if you do that on the video account, you might lose some people looking at the video account, which you don't want to do, because if they're following the video account, it's chances are they want to watch MTG Tonight. And by you said as long as there's nothing divisive, okay? You said nothing inappropriate or divisive, but you have to understand that everything is divisive when you are selecting things based on content. When you're on Twitter, everything is divisive because people can just say, I don't like Blood Orange, unfollow. It's so simple to just be like, boop. You know, so you could say one wrong thing and someone's gonna boom, just unfollow you. And so you don't want to risk that with the videos, with the MTG Tonight. You want them to just be able to follow that account and know they're gonna see a lot of stuff about MTG Tonight, and that's great. And then on your personal account, you can go nuts about Blood Orange and other stuff that you like. Now, you know, figuring things out about, you know, like this right here, you know, are you going to retweet Sam on your video account or are you going to retweet him on your personal account, you know? And this right here is it's a defining tweet, okay? This tells some of your values about magic art and magic artists, okay? So now people know when they look at this, they know that you value artists, right? Because you're retweeting. You want people to know, hey, these artists are not being treated right. They should be treated like guests. They should not be treated like vendors, this kind of stuff. So this is like, you need to decide, hey, where do I want to assign that in my branding? Like, do I want to assign that to MTG Tonight? Or do I want to assign that to myself? I would, if it was me, I would put that on my own Twitter, because then it lets people know a little bit more about me, but it's not anything about the show. Like, the show is not covering this, If the show was covering this, then I would retweet it I would quote it, okay? And I would say, we're going to talk about this on the show tonight, or we're going to talk about this on the show next week, And so I would be really intentional about what you're doing and how you're, what things you're putting in which silos, especially if you're gonna make two accounts, right? And so like, I hope those are some good examples. I think that answers the question. Let me show you the Medina Streams Twitter account. We'll talk a little bit about this, because the Medina Streams account, you'll see right here, hello friends, I have this pinned so people know. I'll use this to tell you when I'm streaming. I'll also be posting garbage screenshots from all my gaming adventures. That's one of the reasons I wanted this streaming account, because I'm just going to be posting a bunch of screenshots of like me wrecking people in Pokemon, and I know Magic people are not really going to want to see that, or they're not going to want to see my friend Ben is teaching his girlfriend Pokemon, or this deck list of Pokemon, or me talking about Nintendo Switch. Now, there is some crossover, sure. There are some Magic players who play Pokemon and do Nintendo Switch, but hey, if they want to follow both my accounts, they get both, right? I'm not forcing them to get them. I'm not forcing them to have both. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that answers your question. Let's take a look at the chat. I haven't given my official Twitter much attention. Yeah, I would say, because you're trying to get that thing going, there's a lot of stuff you can do to... Let's take a look at it. This is like... Oops, sorry, I misspelled it. This is like Deck Doctor for Twitter, okay? First of all, great thing. You have a backdrop and you have the icon here. What I might have done is just like try to expand this backdrop so much that your logo doesn't show up, or take your logo out of here, so that you have the logo in here, and then it's just looks like the sky, and then you don't have double logos. I don't know. That's maybe just me being picky. Something that might help is if you want to do hashtags here in your comments, so like do some hashtags or something that might draw people to see that you're a YouTube content creator. Another thing is putting @YouTube in your thing here. Just stuff that identifies, because when people search on Twitter, it will look in these things. So let's open a new thing here. So if you search like, let's see. So one thing you'll see is like people to follow. You see this and these things. Look at latest, top. What you're seeing is people are putting the @YouTube in their stuff. Okay, so when someone searches, this is just, if you already say YouTube, if you're already saying YouTube, why not say @YouTube, so that when people are looking, they'll see it when they're looking for @YouTube. The other thing is YouTube might like it. Massdrop does this a lot, where like I say something about Massdrop and they'll just like it. And if they like it, it goes into the people's feeds of people who like Massdrop or who follow Massdrop. So when you're doing your bio, you should put some of that stuff in there so that the search will pick it up. Now, this just helps you get in front of people that might want your content. I'm not trying to tell you spam people or be like, dishonest in your profile here, but why not take advantage? When you say Magic the Gathering, why not put the hashtag? so that when people look for, let's see, when people look for Magic the Gathering, then it'll be, look at right here. Look what's going on. Look at Mike Lanigan is coming up under my people because he has Magic the Gathering hashtag in his profile. See, so under people it's showing up, you know, and obviously my tweet is showing up here because I put Magic the Gathering there. But that's what I'm saying is like using hashtags in your bio is something that will help you to get your account noticed and kind of out there. So that would be the first one. The other thing I can say, and I hope you don't mind, by the way. I hope you don't mind, man. I'm trying to do this to help you and giving you some suggestions. Please look at these as suggestions and not as me being critical or tearing your stuff down. Like you said, you haven't spent a lot of time on this, so I'm just giving you my thoughts as suggestions. This is not like the rule of law or anything like that, but it's something to think about. And if you don't want me to do this, tell me, like, dude, stop tearing apart my Twitter, and I will totally go. Okay, this is so constructive. Okay, cool. Because I don't want to be that guy who's hurting you or making you feel bad about what you're doing. So the other thing here is you have a Patreon link, and this is something to make a decision about. Okay, you need to make sure that this is the decision you want to make. Having a Patreon is great because it allows people to support you in what you do. It allows people to come beside you. That tribe that I'm talking about allows you to connect to them and them to say, hey, I'm voting with my dollars. I want you to do this. You're doing a great job. Keep doing it. The question is, would you rather have your YouTube link here? Because the fact that you have a YouTube account, but you've decided to put Patreon here, it indicates that you're more interested in people supporting you with money, because that's what Patreon is in the end, than going to your content. Now, I'm not saying that that's how you feel, okay? I'm not saying that's what you meant. I'm just saying it could look like that. And you have to ask yourself, do I want it to look like that? Do I want it to do that? You know, and that's a good question. That's something for you to ask. You know, I don't know. And so when someone comes to your thing, they're judging you based on all this stuff. They're like, oh, look at this guy. What, he's trying to get me to pay him right away? I haven't even looked at his videos, you know, this kind of stuff. I love this right here, like where you're showing behind the scenes. That's very cool. Something to see in your tweets there and stuff. One thing I'd be careful of is the followers that you have on this account. Following people is kind of seen as an endorsement. So you have to be careful about who you follow on this account because it's your project account. So like, who are you endorsing? I'm not saying you're endorsing anyone bad, or there's very few people that I think you'd want to, but like, it's also part of the brand to say, I follow these people, then you can expect content like these people. You know what I mean? It gives people a snapshot. Now, let's say that, hey, I want to see from my Magic Tonight account, I want to see a bunch of YouTubers, but maybe I don't want to follow them because I don't want it to be like, I can't control all their content. I don't know. I don't want to accidentally endorse somebody who's making YouTube videos that are like, you know, that I don't agree with or something, you know. So, but you do want to follow them to keep up with their content. Well, this is something that everybody who uses Twitter should do. And it's something called lists, okay? So I'll just jump over to my Twitter real quick and go to my profile. Now, if you look at lists, you'll see here so many different lists. Now, I'm only following 87 people, but you'll see that, look, this Magic Culture list has 127 people in it. That means when I go here, I'm seeing content from all these different people. These are people I want to see content from, but I don't necessarily want to. I want to see it at a certain time. Okay, I want to be able to control when I see this content and when I don't see it. Okay, that's what this is all about. And a lot of times what I'll do is, like, if there's a new Magic, somebody talking about Magic who's kind of a voice in the community or something like that, I'll just add them here because I'm like, oh, let's see. I don't know if I want to follow them or if I want to if I want to read their content every day. But when I'm reviewing this list, sometimes I'll be like, man, this person always has something really cool to say. I'm just gonna follow them because I think they're always saying something cool. It's something I always want in my feed. And the same thing with the old school content. Like I go through waves, like different formats and stuff that I like, and so when I do that, like when I'm on an old school kick, I want to be reading the old school guys' Twitters, but when I'm not doing old school, I don't really want to see a bunch of old school Magic stuff in my Twitter. There's a couple guys that I follow because they're awesome, like Library of Lang and stuff like that. But here I can just look at all this old school Magic stuff at any time, you know? And so I would say, yeah, put some more time in that. I'm not going to go into more stuff. Awesome. This guy got the cards I sent him. I'm not going to go into too much more about that right now. We'll do another stream about tools that you could use and stuff that you can do to really help like superpower your Twitter so that you're doing what you want it to do. That's what really this is about, is being intentional about using Twitter and having Twitter accomplish what you want it to accomplish. It's not so much about getting views and you know, that kind of stuff. Pre-modern. Get out of here with that. Tier does. Okay, so the next question is coming from my friend on Facebook. As I said, it's funny because it came on Facebook, not on Twitter, but you know, we'll tackle this next question. Is it better to have some content, even if it's weak, poor, or intermittent content, or no content at all, if you can't put out quality content? Now, this is more of a question, I think, for a website than it is for a Twitter account, but it can be applied to Twitter. So first of all, the benefit of Twitter versus a website is you don't have to be consistent to grow a following or to respond to your following. You can stop tweeting for a month and nobody's going to probably unfollow you for that. Okay, so nobody's going to get mad about it either, because when they look at their Twitter, they might not even notice that you haven't said anything. So, you know, the difference is if you have a website, you want to be consistent. If you have a YouTube channel, you want to be consistent. Typically, you want to give content. Now, the question is, do you want to, even if it's bad content, do you just want to throw it out there? Now, we'll go to the notifications here because my friend here gave an answer. Let's see if we can find it. All right, so here's the question right here, like we said, and he says easy. Yes, obviously, because Gary Vee said to do it. Okay, and documentary. So Netflix has both trash and you know, gems. You know, so he's using Netflix as kind of like you know, an example of how you should tweet. And so, and also Gary Vee is supposed to be, I don't listen to a lot of Gary Vee content, so I don't really know, but he's like very up on the social media stuff. Now, I would say that I disagree. So I don't know if I'm disagreeing with Gary Vee, and you know, that's probably a bad thing if I'm disagreeing with him, but I disagree about just like, yeah, just get content, just get views, just throw it on out there. The reason why is because, especially in a niche place like the Magic community, you don't want to be known as the guy who's always creating trash content. You don't want to be known as the spamming guy on Twitter who's just spamming stuff just constantly, stuff that has no value, stuff that, because people are not going to follow that. The community is so small, and there's other high quality creators and high quality tweet people, or Twitters or tweeters, I don't know how to say it, but they don't need to do that, right? In the real world, right? If you take us out of a niche, right? Then if you're just trying to be known in the world, then yeah, like that whole idea, like even all news is good news, or no news is bad, or you know, no press is bad press. That was it. Okay, so no press is bad press if you want to be known, right? Because just getting your name in front of people is how you get known, whether it's bad or good, or it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if your content is good or bad, because just having content and putting stuff out there and getting impressions is what matters. Now, in the wider scheme of things, if you just want to be known and you just want to like proliferate your Twitter account, then yeah, that's the way to do it. But the thing is that if you're trying to appeal to a niche, or you're trying to win a community over, then that's not good for the community. That's not gonna. The thing about in the real world is people can unfollow you, and then there's still tons of other people that might, follow you because of something, or randomly. There's a lot more people, and so the numbers game works better, right? Because if you make like 1 million impressions, and like 1% of those people follow you, then you'll have a lot of followers. But the thing is that on Twitter, the niche of the Magic community is so small that you'll burn through those people so fast that in the end you're not going to grow. Your growth is going to be stunted. And I don't think there's any magic person who tweets and has a lot of followers who takes that approach. And so I would say the answer to that is, for Twitter, in the Magic community, it's always best to have high quality content, to be genuine, and I think to put your heart into the stuff that you're putting out. It's or put yourself into what you're putting out. And I think you should look at your tweets like content. And if your tweets are trash, then maybe they're not worth following. And I don't think you should put that out there. Because in the end, trash tweets don't result in building a tribe, in my opinion. And so I think that, like, my friend who asked me this has a store. And so maybe he's thinking, well, for the store website, should we just put up whatever content? I would say no. Like, if you don't have a good content, intake, then it's probably not good to put content up, just whatever, bad content. Because it doesn't serve any purpose, and it costs time and money to do that. And I don't think you're going to win patrons by putting up bad content. If you're putting up good content, then people might, you might build a little bit of a brand for that, and people might shop at your store because they enjoy your content. Now, with the Twitter thing, I'll say whatever content you do produce should go on Twitter. Whatever tournaments you are running, that all should go on Twitter. Everything you do should go on Twitter from a store perspective, or else you're not being useful to the people who are following you. Would I follow your Twitter if you don't put your tournaments up, if you don't put things that you're doing, if you don't put your sales? No, I wouldn't do that. Because I want, like, the reason I'm following your Twitter as a store is I want to hear about those deals. I want to hear about when you're open, when you're closed, what's going on. So you definitely want to be consistent in that regard. So some of the fun questions that I got, and then I'll take any questions from chat. So, if you have any questions, hit me up in chat. And some of the fun questions I got is like, egg on your burger, is it the greatest thing ever, or what? So I haven't eaten egg on my burger for a while, or never. I mean, did I eat it? I might have eaten it once, but my buddy was like, hey, have you ever had egg on your burger? And I'm like, I don't remember, or no. And he's like, dude, you got to try it. So I ate it. It was awesome. I will probably do it again sometimes, but it's not one of those things that I'll do every time. I'm not going to have egg on the burger every time. So the other question is, do I speak Spanish? And the answer to that is no. I don't speak Spanish. I feel ashamed for that because I am of Mexican descent, but when I was growing up, it wasn't looked at as a positive thing to speak Spanish because in California, Mexicans who spoke Spanish were kind of looked down upon because people felt that they were like illegal immigrants or something like that. I mean, it's funny because like when I was growing up, it was that way. And then when I entered the job market, it wasn't that way. Being bilingual was actually a benefit and was something that, you should try to do. And so, but now I feel like the culture or the temperature for some has shifted back to that, where it's like, people might look down on people who speak Spanish because of, they might think they're illegal immigrants or whatever. But my parents didn't teach me Spanish because of that. They wanted me to have the best chances in the job market. And so yeah, I didn't learn Spanish. My grandparents speak Spanish, and I wish I spoke Spanish because a lot of times in my life, people will speak Spanish to me, and I will have to ashamedly tell them I don't speak Spanish. So no on that. I think this is going to wrap up the Twitter stuff. You know more Spanish than I do. I think we're going to wrap up the Twitter talk right here. I do want to do another stream about Twitter tools and different things you can do on Twitter to kind of understand if you are succeeding at setting that goal at what you wanted Twitter to do. So I'm going to wrap that up now because this is going to be a YouTube video. So I'm going to stop streaming, but then I'm going to start again and we'll just talk regular and maybe we'll do some other stuff. So I'm going to stop the stream now and then start again.